Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Meeting is now live.
Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment meeting for April 21st. My name is Brian Miller and I will be chairing the meeting today. Our first order of business is the disclosure of pecuniary interest by anyone today. Is there any? I'll take that as a no. Okay, our first application today is for a minor variance, A822-138 Wallbridge Loyalist Road. The owner is Quinte Christian High School. And Andrew, you can explain to us what's happening.
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Chair. So a minor variance has been submitted for the above noted property, which is zoned community facility and environmental control zone, and is developed with a school. Since the Sydney zoning bylaw does not have a defined parking requirement for school, the application requests permission to reduce the number of parking spaces required. Proposed development will include a school with 10 classrooms and a 240 square meter day nursery. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, is Mr. Van Heusen or Brugenhill with us today if they have any other comments?
Hi, Curtis Brugenhill here.
Good afternoon.
Not too much to say. Right now the parking proposed is 48 lots or 48 spots. The current school has they're working with about 20 lots right now and functions adequately. We suspect that 48 will be plenty of parking to accommodate them currently and into the future if there is some growth. The 48 spots is in line with some other jurisdictions' parking requirements for elementary schools. And
Okay.
I believe that's about it.
And Mr. Van Heusen, do you have any comments? Oh, he's on mute, I guess. Mr. Van Heusen, are you with us?
Yeah. There's two John Van Heusens. Do you hear me?
Oh, okay.
There's two John Van Heusens, and my nephew is involved with the building of the new school. I'm the chairperson of Quinte Christian High School, so
Okay.
I'm just sitting in, kind of listening.
Okay.
Curtis has explained everything, so.
Okay, that's good. Anybody have any questions for this gentleman? No questions? Okay, in that case, motion by Robert, seconded by Bill. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, our next application is for a minor variance it's A922 53 Allnet Drive, and the owner is Tanya and Dan Fencott. Andrew?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. A minor variance has been submitted for the above noted property with that is zoned R2 zone and is developed with a single detached dwelling. The application requests to reduce the interior side yard on the south side of the building to facilitate a new side yard entrance. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone, Mr. or Mrs. Fencott, or any members of the public wish to comment on this? Dawn, anybody there for this application?
I don't see them in attendance.
Okay, thank you. And so do you have any questions, concerns about this property? If not, then a motion by
I
Carol.
do see, sorry, pardon me. I do see Dan raising his hand.
Oh, did he? Sorry.
Oh,
He is
there you
there.
go. I am here. Sorry,
Okay.
Brian. But yeah, I am here. I have no comments. Sorry.
Okay, so no questions for Dan? If not, then Carol, you made a motion to approve, seconded by Sue Smith. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, our next application is an application for a minor variance A1022, and the address is 22 Moody Street. The owners are Sean Moore and Sarah Miracle. And Andrew, you can explain what's happening there.
Certainly. So a minor variance has been submitted for the above noted property that's zoned R4 and is developed with a single detached dwelling and a detached garage on the north side of the property, which is on the top side of that image there. The application requests to permit a coach house in the front yard and increase the maximum height of the coach house, as well as increasing the maximum lot coverage for accessory buildings. Staff has clarified with the applicant regarding the proposed height of the structure. The structure will actually just have a raised basement and won't be multiple stories. Accordingly, relief is only needed for the maximum height, but not the number of stories for the application. Staff note that the remaining provisions of the second unit policy will apply, including the maximum floor area. And staff was contacted from about 6 members of the public regarding the application, which has been forwarded to the committee for your further consideration. And I believe we should have 1 member of the public in attendance to speak about the application. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So do we have Sean Moore or Sarah Miracle with us? Or Keith Watson? Jennifer is there.
Yeah, can you hear me all right here? It's Jennifer at Watson Land Surveyors. So we're here to represent Sean and Sarah. So I'm here happy to answer any questions that come up.
Okay, do you have any questions for Jennifer? Bill? You're on mute. There we go.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Jennifer, how many, so this is a coach house. How many people will be able to reside in there at any given time?
It will just be for a single family. So it could be, someone on their own, maybe 2 people, maybe 2 people and a child. It'll be probably about a 2-bedroom residence.
Okay. Is it going to be used for short-term rentals?
No, that's not the intent.
That's not the intent. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have questions? Chris?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I just wondered if there any elevations of the coach house have been developed yet.
Not to this point, no. We needed the relief because there's bedrock. Our client's pretty familiar with the area and he knows that there's bedrock at about 3 or 4 feet under the surface of the ground. So the basement will have to be elevated up. He didn't want to put any money into the plans until this was approved, and then he will get some drawings done.
How high is the existing house on the property?
It's a 2-story. I don't have an exact height on that.
Okay.
Is it 2-story or 1.5 stories?
I believe it's a 2-story.
Okay.
Yep.
I drove by, but I can't remember. Okay. So anybody else have any questions for Jennifer? The member of the public, is it Joanne Watkins?
Yes. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, your comments, please.
I don't like the idea of it's going to crowd the lot of a coach house being built in that area. It's just crowding the lot too much. It's going to affect the people who live in that area's ability to enjoy their property as far as the light and the traffic, especially. And there's no room for parking there. And I don't know what kind of a coach house it's going to be. Is it going to look like the one on Bridge Street West at 122?
Don't know
What
what that.
materials are going to be used?
Andrew or Greg, can you address parking on that?
Through the chair, I believe I spoke with one of the engineers regarding the additional traffic generated by one dwelling unit, or sorry, an accessory dwelling unit. His opinion was that it would not drastically increase the traffic.
Okay. Is there room for additional parking, or will there be a parking provided for this new unit, or are they using the existing parking?
It's just one house lot.
Yes, Andrew?
Through to the chair, and obviously the applicant can clarify. I believe that there is a new driveway that's proposed on the south side of the property from is it Burton Street?
Burton Street?
They will still need to get they may still need to get an entrance permit off from transportation and operations. But the north side of the property will still have in excess of available parking for one for the dwelling and one for the accessory dwelling.
Okay, Joanne, do you have any other comments?
I'm just looking at the lot because it's down the street from where I live and I can see it from my house. And it just looks like it's going to be way too crowded and it'll affect the people the lots tend to come together quite closely at the corners. And I just think it's going to be plunked right down in the corner of that lot. And I don't know how that lot, is the lot going to be severed or how is that going to work?
Andrew?
So regarding the question about severance, coach houses cannot be severed off from the property. That is specifically stated in the second unit policy. For context about being close to the intersection, there is such a thing as a daylighting triangle, which is an area on the corner that can't be developed, along with the front yard setbacks that this building is maintaining. So we could also include greater specifics on how far it needs to be from the street.
It definitely needs that.
I may have not included that in the recommendation, but that could be specified about how far it needs, like as proposed in the site plan. I believe it's like about 5.5 meters from Burton and the same distance from Moody Street as the existing house.
Why is it being called a coach house?
Through to the chair, that is the proposed use. A coach house is a type of accessory dwelling unit under the second unit policy.
And how does it vary from a regular single family dwelling?
So there are many details in the second unit policy. One of those details that makes it differ is that there's a limit on the number of bedrooms and the floor area, which the proposed structure will need to come. But essentially, it will be adding a dwelling unit onto the property.
And this will be a rental unit, am I right?
Nothing in the zoning says a dwelling unit needs to be lived in or rented. It would be up to the owner whether it's rented or not.
But that's the intention.
Well, I don't think we know what the intention is. We're just looking at whether the building, if they can build the building and the height and the other issues. The use of the building, we're not getting involved with.
I'm just thinking about so many people being jammed into this area. I mean, I live here. I've paid taxes here for 30 years, and so have many of my neighbors. We're trying to keep our properties up with a little bit of effort and a little bit of pride in our homes. And I hate to see extra buildings being crammed in here and there that don't belong.
If there's issues with property as far as maintenance, then the property standards bylaw will deal with that. So that would, if there's any issues that you want to bring forth, then you contact the property standards people and they will deal with those accordingly.
Well, it's just a matter of having so many buildings in that lot was not intended for that. It's just it's infilling is what it is.
To add,
Andrew?
Through to the chair, to add some context, in 2018, the second unit policy was created, which allowed, in addition to coach houses, second units. So whether that, as the building stands right now, in theory, the building itself could have a second unit within the existing building or in the existing garage. Actually, that one might have issues for zoning, but or if it was located in the north yard, there would be less, say, zoning concerns about it in comparison to being on the south yard. But as of right, an accessory unit for this property is permitted. So the use itself is not being, the permission, the owner's not asking permission for the use. It's just the location of that use.
Right,
Okay,
which I find not agreeable myself, and many of my neighbors are feeling the same way.
As well as the
Chris?
height, as well as the height and the lot coverage.
Yes,
There's not a single application like this in this neighborhood. I toured the whole surrounding area. And the house has a pretty nice little side yard there with some
Yeah.
nice trees and play area. So that, where does that go? And what is provided for the coach house or the existing tenants as part of the overall plan?
I don't know if Jennifer can,
That's why I
answer
thought
any-
a design of the coach house would have maybe helped us. I don't know, but anyhow.
Yeah, that's something certainly that our client, could provide to the city. At this point, if he can't put this here, then he didn't want to have the expense of design drawings and that kind of thing. It's my understanding that if he was to do a lot addition, he could build even closer to Burton Street than this second unit is going to be. And the height could be 10.6 meters as the main building. And what we're asking for is basically the bylaws, to my understanding, are that it can be a 1-story, and we just need it to be slightly above 1-story because of the bedrock there.
okay. Anybody else have a question for Jennifer? So does he have any designs, anything?
Basically, what we have
Preliminary.
here is as far as it's gotten at this point. Once he has the approval for the height, then he will have some drawings done and more information on it.
The question remains that if we don't have enough information, drawings or whatever, to decide whether this is appropriate for this lot, then should it be deferred until this, he can provide more information? Some more detail, I guess is the word. Carol? You're on mute.
I'm sorry, I guess I'm not quite understanding that what the building is going to look like, other than normal. You don't want an eyesore in your neighborhood, but I'm not sure that that's really addressing what we're being asked to decide on today. I guess before it would have ever got to us, if there was a need by the city departments to see what this building was going to look like, somebody would have said, please provide us with drawings of what the building's going to look like. I guess I just don't know if this is beyond the scope of our decision.
Okay, anybody else have any questions concerned? Robert?
Yeah, is it not common practice to at least have a rendering of where it's going to be on the lot and the size that it will take up on the lot? Is that not usually part of the submission process?
Was there not a plan that showed that?
Was that Andrew, the one you showed us? Does that show us you bring it up again?
Through the chair, I can provide, I can put up the plot plan as submitted with the application.
Yeah,
Right
sorry,
now.
I just don't have it in front of me, but it seems like we're asking a lot of questions about where and, how much space is going to be. I think if all we're being asked to do is to give an opinion as to whether it meets the criteria of where the coach house should go, and if we are going to allow it to be slightly higher than what the limits are, I think that is something we could rule on today, provided moving forward, they would have to provide drawings to planning department, wouldn't they? And that's where it could be assessed whether it's going to be suitable to you know, the style of design and any other issues that could come up there.
And it meets all the other requirements.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments regarding this application?
Just to clarify that the height increase is almost 50% that's been requested for the coach house.
Yes.
And now, does that due to the fact that the basement is raised? But it's still only 1 story, correct?
Yes, it's basically an elevated 1-story. The existing height for, if they were to do an addition on the building, the height of that building, even closer to Burton Street, could be 10.6 meters. So this is significantly lower than that, but we do need relief to be higher than just the regular 1-story because of the bedrock.
So it's not going to be higher than the existing house, is it?
No, definitely not. It's going to be shorter than the existing house.
Okay. All right. Any other
But-
questions?
But we don't know the height of the existing house. We asked how high the house was and you,
But
I
that
believe-
house is 2 stories, so we're going to be about 1.5.
well, your 7 meters is 24 feet almost. I don't know if that house is much more than that. They've asked for relief up to 7 meters, which is just under 24 feet. Is the eave of that house more than 20 feet?
Mm,
I don't think so.
I don't have a
Looking
measurement
at,
on that.
looking at the picture, I don't think so. So the coach house is going to be up high as the windows in the 2nd story there.
Probably.
I'm just trying to picture myself this block of a building sitting there
Yes.
on that lot with the trees now removed and a separate driveway entrance off of Burton Street. And having read all of the comments from several people in the neighborhood. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Brian,
Yes, sorry, Sue.
a bit of a segue from what Chris just said. I struggle with factoring in the public commentary that we've received on this particular unit and balanced with the minor variance of which we are tasked, right? Where city approval, the city folks have said it fits under the definition of minor variance. But how do we factor in the concerns of the neighborhood as we've received them? I struggle with that. It's not really a question. Or is there prescriptive in how you factor in the public's opinion of this? Like Ms. Watkinson's concerns and all the other neighbors. How do we factor that into height and width and lot setbacks and all that stuff? I'm struggling with this one, guys, to be honest.
Okay, some of the comments were to do with the additional traffic, and 1 more unit is probably not going to increase the traffic that much. That was one of the comments. The other was to do with sight lines that pulling out or something onto Moody Street, but the driveway would be on Burton Street. So those were some of the comments that I read. So I don't
And
know.
then the people that are there that can't look out their bedrooms without hearing people arguing, and so it goes to proximity to the neighboring dwellings and that sort of thing as it relates to variances, right?
But those, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, through the chair. But those complaints really have nothing to do with what's at hand here. Those complaints need to go through the proper channels that the city has set up to address those kind of issues.
Right.
I mean, if there's people that are being rowdy and noisy, that's got nothing to do with the land use and what's there. That's just the people that are there in the moment. Quite frankly, some of those comments that I read, I found a little distasteful, saying we're owners and we don't want renters. Like, what, that doesn't make you any better because you own your property. Like, renters have just as much a right to have a place to live too.
Of course they do.
There's no questioning that. And then if we are to discount all public commentary when we make these decisions, then why do we go through the bother of accepting them if we can't factor them in to our committee's decisions. That's what I struggle with.
Okay. Carol?
I don't think, through the chair, I don't think, Sue, that we're discounting any comments that are made by the public.
No.
But I think we have to weigh the significance of the complaints to what we're being asked to approve. Andrew set out about not being able to see around the corner, that there's daylight triangles that are going to prevent they're not being able to see around the corner. No, we don't have the height of the current building there. We know it's going to be less than what's there. So it's not like it's going to be a humongous structure that's going to overpower the rest of the houses in the neighborhood. And we've got to remember again, that this nice yard that's there belongs to the person that owns that property. If he decides to put something in his yard, whether it be a coach house or something else,
Pool.
a pool would do the same kind of thing. Anyway, I don't ever dismiss, and we've had several cases where we don't ever dismiss the public's opinion about what we're making choices about. But as Robert said, that's okay if the opinions are affecting the decision that we have to make. Then we have to definitely take them into consideration.
So, Bill, you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. Just to sort of build on what Carol said. There has been many occasions where this committee has worked with the applicant and been able to make or accommodate certain residential concerns and have some modifications. The one that comes to mind is the proprietor at Herkimer and Bridge Street, where the residents had concerns, and we were able to work with the applicant to have some changes made to be able to satisfy not all, but some of the concerns. So I think this committee does try and balance both in terms of its decision making. And when I think back to the 2019 Housing Summit, where we all recognized as a community that we had a housing shortage, one of the ideas that was strongly supported was one of intensification. So I see this coach house as sort of a little bit of that sort of model, if you will. And the fact that it's only going to be 2 bedrooms would suggest to me that it's going to be a family of 3 or 4 at the most. And as long as we can accommodate parking, and it's a little difficult to see, I wasn't able to go by there, but we're on that sketch that Andrew threw up. I can't see where the sidewalk is. So I don't know if the sidewalk is inside from the road diagram. And so that puts the building itself a little closer to the sidewalk, I think. However, that said, I think that for this committee, we have to deal with those issues that we're capable of dealing with. And I think we have discussed them. And I don't think that the resolution is going to favor, one party or the other. We're probably not going to be able to reach a compromise. It would be nice, and I don't know if we can do this or not. It would be nice to see the draw. So for me, this is a bit of a chicken and an egg. We've got the request for the coach house, but we don't know what the coach house is going to look like. So building on Chris's point about the height structure, that may or may not present an opportunity where we might be able to influence that if we had the drawing. So I'm not sure what the right next step is, but anyways, I would if Greg, I think is looking like he might want to respond to some of what I've said. So go ahead, Greg.
Greg.
Sorry, thank you. Through the chair to the committee members, I just wanted to mention that it is common for us to get a drawing with an application to illustrate the intent. The challenge we're faced with is that the zoning bylaw really regulates things in terms of a box, and what you can put in that box is not really regulated. So, I mean, while it's helpful to see the intent, once relief is granted, it would be possible for someone else to come along with a different plan. And as long as it still fit in that box in terms of height and setbacks, it would be hard to tie them to, say, a particular type of cladding or a particular amount of window coverage or things like that, because we don't have at the moment the urban design guidelines in place to enforce that sort of thing, the building permit state.
Okay, Andrew, you had a comment a minute ago.
Oh, through the chair, if you needed the visual again, I can always provide it to you. But the visual that we had there had the sidewalks are outside of the boundaries that were shown.
So what we're dealing with today is the question of, do we approve or not approve the height restriction? Is that correct, Andrew? That's really what it boils down to?
Through the chair, it's 3 items. So it's being permitted to be in the front yard.
Yes.
It's to increase the lot coverage and increase the height, the raw height, which is measured from the ground elevation to the peak of the roof to, I believe, somewhere around 7 meters.
Okay. Does everybody understand that that's what we're actually looking at? Robert?
Just a quick question. Why does it need to have a raised basement? Why can't it just be built on a slab? Would that not solve some of the height issue?
Jennifer?
It may, it may, our client is proposing the 1.5 story because he wants to have a full basement in it, but he can't have that underground.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? And is there anybody else from the members of the public that wanted to comment besides Joanne? I'll take that as a no. So we've heard various and sundry comments. I guess our choice is to approve, deny, or defer. So what is your thoughts? Defer, we could ask for some additional information. We know what deny means and we know what approve means, so.
But can we not also approve 2 of the 3 that he's requesting? Like, can we not just say yes to some and no to others?
Andrew? Or Greg?
I believe Greg is nodding. It's entirely with this, we provide you an opinion and you're able to act as you independently from that opinion, based off of the comments or anything of this discussion that we've had today. If you wanted to prove 2 of the 3, then I believe that is within your power.
What were you thinking, Robert?
Well, I'm thinking the biggest issue is probably the height issue right now. The other 2 probably are less of an issue. I mean, coach houses are permitted, and I think working within the framework of what is allowable there, I think we could say yes to the front yard and the location. It's a unique type of property too, because the front yard is actually kind of another side yard too, based on the intersection, right?
Yeah. Chris, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I think the front yard's wrong based on the corner lot. I'm not convinced that the garage is actually utilized on this property that much based on the condition it's in. And possibly the coach house is being proposed in the wrong location on this property. That was hinted at earlier in the opening by Andrew, but it's just a thought.
Andrew?
That was also through the chair. That was also an alternative that one of the members of the public had proposed to replace the existing garage in the north yard. At this point, it may be beneficial for the interest of the owner, for the applicant to defer the application and have the applicant, owner, and the city staff determine what their next best option would be if the direction of the committee has an issue with the proposed location or height.
I think that's probably a reasonable approach, because that way the owner is going to maybe have to make some conditions, and the public may be able to live with some of those things that he changes. So that wouldn't be out of sorts to do that. And I think that's probably the best alternative. Somebody else have a comment? Anybody? Did someone have a comment?
I put my hand up briefly, but I think if we're going to defer it, we're going to defer it. I guess my only question
Okay.
was, my only question was at the time was, why is he just not looking to sever, or is the lot not big enough to sever? Because then he could just build a whole separate unit.
Through the chair, the lot's undersized to be severed.
Okay.
So it looks like that we're looking at deferring this so that we can get some additional information. The owner can re-look at this, and in consultation with the neighbors and whatever in that garage, and then we can have a better look once we get more information. Is that something that you can live with? Bill?
So I'll move that motion to defer then, Brian.
And seconded by Robert. All in favor? Carried, deferred. Thank you. All righty. Next application, A1122 355 University Avenue. And it's the owner is Justin Bray, Procter Gamble. And is anyone here to speak to that? Andrew, sorry.
I'll take it away for now.
Yeah. Sorry, got ahead of myself.
No worries. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A minor variance has been submitted for the above noted property, which is has industrial zoning on it. The application proposes to permit an accessory building in the exterior side or west yard, closer to Jamerson Bone Road than the main building. There are already a few accessory buildings constructed there already, as well as parked vehicles, including truck trailer boxes. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is anyone from Procter & Gamble here to comment on this, or a representative?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Justin, yes, good afternoon.
Sorry, I didn't know if you, yeah, so it's a maintenance shop. It's a cost savings project is what we're doing here. So we have purchased shunt trucks, and we need a shop to change the oil and do preventative maintenance on the vehicles that drive around the yard. So that is why we're building it.
All righty, any questions for Justin? If not, thank you, Justin. Any, Chris?
No, I'll just make a motion to approve.
Okay, move, seconded by Sue Smith. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Our next application is for minor variance, A1222, A1322, A1422, 332 and 42 Braden Crescent, Parkville Greens, and the owner is Harjit Jaswal. And Andrew, you can explain what's happening there.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. A minor variance has been submitted for 3 parcels in the Parkville Green subdivision. They are all corner lots and will be developed with a single detached dwelling on each. The application proposes to reduce the exterior side yard setback since the front yard setback was increased, but no relief was granted for the exterior. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, this happens in a lot of cases with corner lots because the way the house is set up and the curve and whatever else. So is someone from the applicant here? Good afternoon.
I'm here.
Okay.
Hi, committee members.
Do you have any additional comments to make?
No, I have no additional comments.
Okay, anyone have any questions for this gentleman? I guess not. Okay, in light of that, then do we have a motion? Carol and Robert, all in favor? Approved, thank you. Okay, and our next application, here we go. again, is an application for a minor variance, A 1522 3234 Strawn Street, and the owner is Christine Boss. And Andrew?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. A minor variance was submitted for the above noted property, which is zoned R4. It was formerly developed with a semi-detached dwelling located on the property, which is shown on the left here. It was demolished due to a fire. The application requests permission to reconstruct the semi-detached dwelling in a more compliant and central location. A consent application may be pursued at a later time, but the applicant does want to move forward with reconstruction. I'll note there are 2 driveways shown on here, but they will need to pursue the driveway once they get their severance. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and is Christine's with us?
I am. Yes. Can you hear me?
Any additional comments?
No,
So you're just building a new semi on that property, correct?
I am. Yes. And then at a future date, I will pursue my consent application.
Okay. Any questions for Christine from the board? And no one else from the public is wishing to comment? If not, a motion by Sue Smith, seconded by Chris. All in favor of approval? Thank you, carried. Okay, thank you. Our next application, B 522, 125, 127 Bridge Street West. The owner again is Sean Moore and Sarah Marical. And Andrew?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. A consent application has been submitted for the above noted property, which is zoned R4 zone and is developed with a 3-unit dwelling and a 1-unit dwelling connected along a common wall. The application requests to separate the attached buildings along onto 2 separate properties along the common wall. Staff was contacted with 2 members from the public regarding the application, which has been forwarded to the committee for your consideration. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So is Jennifer from Watson with us, or any Merrick, Sean, or Sarah? I don't see either one of them. So do we have any questions, comments, concerns? Oh, Jennifer's here.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think I was in a temporary waiting room. I am here to answer any questions if anybody has any for me today.
Andrew, did you have a comment?
I was going to highlight that there were Jennifer's still here. Joanne Watkinson is still here.
Okay.
To speak about the application.
Okay.
I guess I'll extra note that no additional units have been proposed and will need to be reflected in the respective rezoning, which has been included as a condition of consent.
Okay. Any questions for Jennifer? I have one question. So this is basically a semi-detached house that we're splitting in half. What about the wall between the 2 buildings? Is there a concern there as far as a firewall? Or should there be a concern? Can Jennifer or Andrew answer that?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that was directed to me. It's always been 2 units independently.
Okay.
It was
So
built
did you-
like that.
So they were always separate and they've merged on title, is that? Or was it always built as a semi and never split?
That's right. Always built as a semi and never split, with 1 unit on one side, 3 units on the other.
Okay.
In 2013, there was a permit to revise the number of units in it, but that was never completed. So the use has been continued like this since it was built.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? Oh, Curtis is back. Okay, if not, Joanne, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to know what the purpose of splitting it physically is. I mean, it's got 1 roof and it's 1 building with a common wall. Why do you want to split it in 2?
I don't, Andrew may be able to answer that, but most semi-detached houses are one roof that joins the whole building. So it's a similar to a semi-detached.
Through the chair.
Go
Andrew?
ahead,
sorry.
Andrew.
Yeah, no problem. Through the chair, there will be no physical separation between the buildings. It will just be separated along a property line.
Okay, so there would just be a minor variance.
No, this
So
is an application. There is an associated rezoning that they will need to recognize the uses. But it is what I had assumed is to split the ownership between the two sides of the building.
So they're splitting it legally into two different pieces of property. Correct?
Okay, so that's what it amounts to then.
Yes, yeah.
Is
Does that help?
is there a game plan for, is there anything in the works for the west, the immediate west piece of property right beside 125? There's a right of way there.
I don't know, Andrew or Greg may answer that.
Do they want to put another building there?
Through the chair, there are no additional uses or units that are being proposed here. The 125 has a right of way for access off of Moody Street. But the severance will not create another opportunity to create a new house, for example.
Okay. So it's not gonna, the house needs a little refurbishing, by the way. The owner should be made aware of that. It's really in rundown condition. I guess that's not for another day.
No, that's not something that we're just looking at whether we divide the property into two properties. The condition is not on the agenda.
No, I know.
Okay. And is there any other questions, comments, concerns for either one of these ladies? If not, a motion by Carol to approve, moved by Sue Smith. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, our next application for consent is B62 and B722, 501 and 503 Bridge Street East, and the owners are Harold and Deborah Brennan. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So consent applications have been submitted for the above noted properties, which are zoned R2 zone, and each are developed with a single detached dwelling. The applications request to create a new residential lot from the two rear yards of the properties to create one new residential lot. The staff was contacted by one member of the public in the local area regarding some clarifying questions about the property and the standard sizes for the R2 zone. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is Mr. or Mrs. Brennan here today or a representative? I will take that as a no. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns regarding this? I'll take Sue. Are you?
So just to clarify, they're taking two lots and creating a total of three.
In a nutshell, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If not, then a motion by Robert, seconded by Chris. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, that concludes that part. Okay, the next item is confirmation of the minutes of a regular meeting of March the 17th. Any concerns, questions, comments regarding those minutes? If not, a motion to approve by Sue Smith, seconded by Carol Merrill. All in favor of approving those? Carried. Thank you. Any other business, Andrew or Greg, that we need to be aware of? Okay. Any correspondence other than what we've received? Take that as a no. Our next meeting will be May the 19th. And I assume it will be another virtual meeting. Any other news otherwise? No? No?
Not that I've heard.
If there is, we will find out before our meeting. Does any of the committee members have any other comments? If not, motion to adjourn. Chris, seconded by Robert.